Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving.
What happens when you're one of the most talented players in basketball? Everyone knows how talented you are and people can recognize your accomplishments. But yet there is an entire network of people that has spent the better half of a decade trying to tear you down and define your character. Kyrie Irving's career started off pretty well actually. He averaged around 17 points per game on 53, 46, 90 shooting splits. In fact, as a freshman, he led Duke to the Sweet 16. He would be recognized as a great prospect according to scouts, and it would be enough for him to go #1 in the 2011 NBA draft.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Kyrie Irving from Duke University.
Kyrie was getting drafted into a very complex situation. The Cavaliers were just 1 year removed away from LeBron leaving the Cavs to go to Miami, hence why they even got the #1 pick. So Kyrie had to come into a team with a terrible roster and was expected to perform exponentially. In his first season, Kyrie already showed promise as a young rookie, averaging around 18 points per game, 5 assists, and had amazing shooting splits of 47, 40, and 87. This was good enough for him to win the Rookie of the Year award, which surprised absolutely no one. In just his second season, Kyrie would improve statistically, bumping up to a 22 points per game scorer, and he even made the All-Star game. But he would also appear in the Rising Stars event, where he would put on a masterclass that no one had really seen in this event.
Fellas love to kind of try to do what the guards are doing in an All-Star game.
Was the great Al Eberhart, Missouri Tiger great, who played with where he left off. He's got 21. Kyrie Irving. For Smith or for somebody else?
Kyrie Irving with that layup. 2-3, 3-2 type of guy to defend other teams' small forwards.
Kyrie Irving going to work on Brandon Knight.
Oh, no!
His third season was more or less similar to his second season. He continued to improve as a player, he made the All-Star game, and he shot pretty well from the field. Cleveland as a team was actually showing some improvement with a 33-49 record and actually had a chance to make the playoffs at some point during the season. Coming into the lottery, the Cavs had a 1.7% chance to get the #1 pick. No one really thought Cleveland was going to get a top pick, but all they needed was a chance.
The 14th pick goes to the Phoenix Suns, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Orlando Magic, Denver Nuggets, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Charlotte Hornets.
That means that Cleveland has vaulted into the top 3, folks.
The third pick in this year's draft goes to the Philadelphia 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and that means that the #1 pick in the 2014 NBA draft goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Pick in the 2014 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins was said to have superstar potential, and pairing him up with Kyrie Irving and even Anthony Bennett, who was the #1 pick the season before, it looks promising. Not to mention the fact that Kyrie had just signed a 5-year, $90 million contract extension. It looked like Cleveland was heading in the right direction. That was until Cleveland had the opportunity to get a different player, one they were too familiar with.
It's people that came to me and said, LeBron, you gotta do what makes you happy. I thought about that and I was like, yeah, I think so. I think it's about time. And then I thought about it and said, hell no. I'ma do what makes my city and my state happy. And that's why I came back. I love you. I'm back.
On the surface, this looked like a great move, and it honestly was. But this would make Kyrie Irving feel a certain type of way. Kyrie would go from the surefire #1 option to LeBron's #2, when Kyrie was more than that. But Kyrie wouldn't be the only player who had to take a back seat. People forget in the early 2010s, Kevin Love was a certified #1 option who could average over 26 points per game with ease. But now being traded to Cleveland in exchange for Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett, Love could no longer be the #1 or even the #2. He had to drop down to the #3 that everyone was going to forget about. So it wasn't just Kyrie who felt this way, but honestly, who cares? Because the reason this team was put together was to win championships, and to end the season, the Cavs had a 53-29 record, good enough for the 2 seed. Kyrie was now in the playoffs for the first time in his career, and he had the opportunity to show how good he really was.
I said, I'll take great offense over great defense any day of the week.
Oh, nice move inside.
with his third field goal. Irving splits the defense and finishes. Irving pulls up, draws a foul, and ball. Irving again. Olynyk and Love fighting for it, and this is going to be good. Love hurt himself? Yes, he did. His shoulder popped out. Yeah, he ran.
Cleveland Cavaliers announced Wednesday Love underwent surgery to repair his dislocated left shoulder. Love's season is now officially over, and he's projected to be out at least 4 to 6 months.
This would make the Cavs' big three drop down to just a duo. Also, quietly, Kyrie had been dealing with a right foot strain, but this wasn't known to the public at the time. The Bulls and LeBron always had great matchups in the playoffs, and this year was no different. The series was tied at 1-1, but that was until Derrick Rose had a chance.
Finds Rose. Rose trying to get open, fires away. Bang! It's over! The Bulls win at the buzzer!
But if you think the Cavs are going down that easy, you'd be sadly mistaken.
James for the win. It's gone. LeBron James at the buzzer.
Cleveland wouldn't lose another game in this series, winning in 6 games. Now, Kyrie was still dealing with his injury and barely played in the Eastern Conference Finals up to Game 4. Kyrie, in his return, scored a solid 16 points on 6 of 11 shooting. While that sounds bad, he was on a minutes restriction, just playing 22 minutes. Regardless, Cleveland won by 30, advancing to the NBA Finals. Their matchup was a Golden State Warriors team that was led by Steph Curry, the unanimous MVP that year. The stage was set for one hell of an NBA Finals.
Drives a three, lays it up with the left-handed in, and the Cavs lead 19-11. Irving falls down, hangs on, gets it to Jay, and Kyrie Irving is hurt, limping up the floor.
Without Kyrie and Love, the Warriors were too much, beating the Cavs in 6. It was sad to see their season end like this, considering if healthy, they could have won this series. But the 2016 season was one to remember. Kyrie was injured to start the season, but he came back in December. The Cavs were back and this team was in full effect. The Cavs had won 57 games, ending as the first seed, and now it was their time for a finals run. But if this team was going to make it back, Kyrie would have to show up, and show up he did.
As Kyrie Irving, it goes! Kyrie Irving! Cavaliers win! They sweep the Detroit Pistons.
Rejection inside, Kyrie Irving.
So well, he's got such a great tight handle. Look out! The J.on Horford. Great move. Wow. He can stop it. Oh, the three is on the way. Millsap, it's off! And it's over! Eastern Conference Final in 6 games. And now advance to the NBA Finals.
Once again, it was the Cavs and Warriors, but something was different. Despite Cleveland being at full strength, Golden State was just a way better team. The Warriors had broken a record that to this day has still stood, 73 wins in a regular season, most in NBA history. This would show as the Warriors took a 3-1 lead, making a finals win for the Cavs seem impossible. Up to this point, no team has ever came back down 3-1 in the NBA Finals. But if any team was going to do it, it was going to be a team led by LeBron James and Kyrie Irving.
One of the greatest performances offensively I've ever seen in the finals by Kyrie Irving.
Cleveland forces a game 6.
Long lead pass to Smith. He'll dump back to LeBron.
And we will have a game 7 in Oakland.
A 15-footer, tough shot by Irving.
We're just in a little bit of a rush. Keep it moving.
Green for 3.
And Draymond's wide open, takes another 3. 5 for 5. Wow.
I think he's
Irving having a huge third quarter.
Out of the pack. He's got numbers if he hurries. The Curry bounce pass, Andre.
Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection.
History tells us that LeBron carried this team back from 3-1. History will tell us if it wasn't for the chase down block on Iggy, then the Cavs would have lost the series. But what history forgets to mention is Kyrie was the biggest X factor for Cleveland winning. Kyrie had not only outdueled Stephen Curry in every single way, but Kyrie had hit the biggest shot of the season. Kyrie had just as much to do with this as LeBron did. Now, I bring this up so you understand why Kyrie was frustrated. Kyrie was brought in to lead the Cavs to the finals and be a player that Cleveland would remember. But then you bring in LeBron and no one cares anymore. Everything that Kyrie did was overshadowed by Bron. 2017 season was more toxic than pleasant. Tension grew and it was an internal battle that no one expected. Due to the Cavs playing in a weak Eastern Conference, they made it back to the finals with ease. But this was not the same Warriors team. Arguably the most forgettable finals in this run, the Cavs would lose to the Warriors in 5. This was upsetting for Cleveland as a team, but this wasn't even the worst thing that was going to happen.
Continuing our breaking news coverage of a potential trade between the Celtics and the Cavs that would basically swap the starting point guards for the two teams that faced off in last year's Eastern Conference Finals.
It's pretty direct in terms of what my intent is, and it's to be happy and be with a group of individuals that I can grow with.
After Kyrie left the Cavs, something became very apparent. He became very unlikable to a lot of people. The media would portray him as someone who was ungrateful and a prima donna. Anytime the media had an opportunity to make Kyrie look stupid, they would take it. In 2017, Kyrie had said something pretty questionable on a podcast.
Okay. You believe the Earth is round?
Yes, but I heard the new one that the Earth
There's no new one. There is no new one.
It's not even conspiracy. The Earth is flat.
No, the Earth is flat.
Oh, here we go.
The Earth is flat.
Okay, breaking the fourth wall for a sec, I think we can all agree this is a pretty dumb take, but people continued to talk about it. After the backlash, Kyrie tried to pass it off as a joke before he backtracked and said he actually had done his own research and there was no real picture of Earth. Kyrie would also go on a plant-based diet, and for some reason this made headlines. I'm not kidding, this was actually a topic. Boston's first season with Kyrie was cut short due to injury in a season where Boston actually looked like they were finals contenders. But despite not having Kyrie, Boston surprised everyone. Thanks to the young core of the Boston Celtics featuring Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and even Terry Rozier, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and almost beat Cleveland. It made people think, what if they had Kyrie? Could they have made the finals and dethroned the Cavs to the East? Well, in the 2018 season, it didn't seem like this could happen.
The leaning not helping them. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They came into the season as the Vegas favorite to win the East, but they have a 500 record. Calendar turned to 2019, and Kyrie Irving crediting a team meeting they had after that home loss to the Bucks.
Hang around with, I guess, the ups and downs.
Experience. The best thing I can say is experience. We're lacking it.
Point out that his teammates are young. One of the very reasons why he left the Cavs, because he didn't like playing with LeBron. LeBron calling him the kid over and over again. He's kind of parroting the same leadership.
It's my life, right? It's two people talking, having a conversation. If this was a real world, would it be anybody else's business? But it's a video of somebody assuming what we're talking about, right? I hear you, but making an opinion about it. So
after all the bullshit that happened in Boston, he wanted to leave again. The narrative started to be that Boston didn't need Kyrie. The young core the year before did better without him despite it being a small sample size. Everyone was convinced Boston didn't need Kyrie. So Kyrie said, I bet.
Kevin Durant is going to sign with the Nets 4 years, $164 million. He will join Kyrie Irving, who is going to commit also tonight. He's essentially committed.
Kyrie's first season in Brooklyn was interesting. Kyrie dealt with several injuries and Kevin Durant didn't even play. Most of the season was just seen as a wash. Kyrie's being criticized for not playing most of the year when he said something that set the media off.
saying things about me, it's inevitable. You know, they crucified Martin Luther King for speaking about peace and social integration. You know, you could go back to historical leaders and great people in society that do great things and they're still going to talk them. It is what it is.
People heard Martin Luther King Jr. and immediately ran with it.
You may feel persecuted. You're a famous dude. There's lots of negative stuff said about you. There's also lots of positive stuff. And the negative stuff is largely a reaction to your work on the court in terms of a leader of a team, in the locker room, in terms of reports that people hear.
Trust me, this wasn't the first time something like this would happen. Not too long after, Kyrie Irving will be voted as the vice president of the National Basketball Players Association, and to no one's surprise, this was talked about.
To me, it's the blind leading the blind. Kyrie has proven to all of us that he's not a leader, and I don't understand this for the life of me. Maybe he surprised the world and become this better person overnight, but when he was with the Celtics, he wasn't a good leader.
At this point, it's just disrespect, not even being factual. It's just straight up an attack on his character and his principles. The NBA was shut down and no one knew if the season was going to return. There was talks about resuming the season in Orlando, but Kyrie was against it. This was at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, and Kyrie said in his own words that he was willing to give up everything by not going to the bubble. In his eyes, something fishy was going on. Once again, because of this, attacks were coming from the media left, right, and center. After the season ended, Steve Nash was hired by the Nets to be their brand new head coach, but then Kyrie once again said something that would set people off.
Having a head coach, you know what I mean? Like KD could be a head coach. I could be a head coach. We always heard how great Nash was or saw how great Nash was as a player. But also when you get to know him as a person, you understand why he can coexist with us, because we don't need somebody to come in and put their coaching philosophy on everything that we're doing.
Regardless of what happened, 2021 was going to be very eventful for the Nets. During the season, James Harden would join Brooklyn, forming the scariest big three in the NBA. Once again, the media continued to attack Kyrie throughout the entire season, and it got more and more toxic. The 2021 Nets were seen as the favorites, and it looked like they could actually win a title. Round 1 showed the Nets dominating the Celtics with ease. Round 2 would feature the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. Some would say this was the most important series throughout the entire Nets Big Three run.
Gets it into Durant. Here is Durant moving on Tucker. He turns, he shoots. Yes! With 1 second remaining. Rebound Brown, and he puts it out. The combo. Turns, flips it, and it carries in. Shot clock. Middleton spinning and hits. Guarded by Holiday. Durant for 3. Comes up with an air ball.
Brooklyn had fallen short. If they weren't injured and they were at full strength, I think most people would agree Brooklyn should have won that series. If Brooklyn came back healthy, then they were destined to win the title. But this would be a catastrophic year for the Nets. During the season, Kyrie did not play a lot due to issues that he was dealing with off the court. Also, due to the pandemic, Kyrie couldn't play at home because he didn't get his vaccine. But also, slowly but surely, we could see Kyrie wasn't okay. The media was attacking him left and right. The world was still in the middle of the Black Lives Matter movement, and Kyrie couldn't even play with his team. And at the time, Kyrie was dealing with some issues with his family that was not made to the public. It was clear to everyone that Kyrie Irving's mental health was on the decline, but NBA media doesn't care about mental health. This has to be the most apparent example of this. The Nets as a team weren't even doing that well, and Harden even left because reports were saying that Harden grew tired of Kyrie. The Brooklyn stage of Kyrie's career was supposed to be fun and end in a championship, but instead it ended in toxicity and issues. Now, some might ask why Kyrie was in so much controversy within this time. To be honest, most people couldn't tell you. They'll say Kyrie is a distraction or he is crazy, but the truth is none of that is true. A good friend of mine by the name of Tooforwon pointed out a stream from Kyrie Irving that many people don't even know exists, and I honestly believe this will paint Kyrie in a different light.
I'm myself, but I'm only a shell of myself. I am not really expressing how I'm truly feeling. A week later, my grandfather passes. My grandfather transitions, and it's one of the hardest bit of news I could take in my life. Guess what I had to go through in front of the public eye? Me grieving. So I'm angry, you know what I'm saying? I'm depressed. I'm over here dealing with real life grief. I cried, you know, about losing my grandfather, bro. And when I tell you that for the rest of the season I wasn't really myself, I definitely wasn't.
I think this gives us a perspective that most people didn't have on Kyrie before. He was villainized by everyone, including the media, yet no one had a clue what was going on. They judged him purely off of what the media told you and what they wanted you to know. The 2023 season was once again a disaster from Brooklyn. Steve Nash got fired early in the season, the team couldn't win, and Ben Simmons was showing us how he was a lost cause. In January, he would request a trade and was sent to Dallas. Most people were confused by this, saying that Dallas was wasting its time. People thought Brooklyn had won the trade because they had gotten rid of Kyrie and got loads of assets in return. But 1 year and some change later, look at how these two teams have aged. Brooklyn is garbage with no bright future in sight, and Dallas is in the NBA Finals set to play Boston in a series where they could very much win. During his time in Dallas, there really has been no controversy and just pure hoops. It turns out when you're in a positive setting and your mental health is okay, you're not going to be in controversy. People say Kyrie is polarizing, controversial, and a distraction, but I think the word is misunderstood. When the world can't define you, they crucify you. The NBA media tried to take down Kyrie for years on end, but in the end, Kyrie would stay true to himself, and that right there is honorable.